Hello friends. In this video I will show you an automatic single type potion brewer that I designed. My goals for this brewer were to make it automatic so that it can continually brew potions without player interaction, and also overflow proof so that it will not break if the output or storage backs up. I also wanted it to be adaptable to different uses. So for example, ingredients can be loaded either manually from the front or with filters at the top, and output can go to a chest at the front or hopper line to another module or storage. The size can be adjusted to handle 1 to 5 ingredient potions. Chaining modules together is fairly straightforward and can be done in a way that preserves the front display. That was my final goal for this auto brewer, to make it look nice, with a clean and accessible UI. I wanted to avoid the tall and narrow design style, which I think is awkward looking and awkward to access for refilling. The wiring for this brewer fits underneath and behind the decorative face, which you can adapt to the style of your base. The brewing stand is front and center, allowing you to access it should anything go wrong, and highlighting the functionality. The base model for brewing 1 or 2 ingredients is 5 blocks wide by 6 blocks tall by 6 blocks deep. Here are the materials you'll need to make it that size. The planks here represent any block that you want to choose for visuals, and the andesite represents blocks that do need to be solid so that they can conduct redstone. For each additional ingredient, you'll need 5 generic blocks, 1 solid block, 1 dropper, 1 hopper, 1 redstone, and 1 repeater. So let me explain the features of my brewer by comparison with this simple push button model. So any kind of automatic brewing is going to require locking a hopper underneath the brewing stand so that you can keep the potions in there while they're cooking and then take them, all 3 of them, out before you load the empty water bottles in. And the length of a stone button press is ideal for that. This button is wired to a redstone torch that locks the hopper under the brewer, and when you push the button, it locks the hopper that is going to push water bottles in, so no water bottles can go in until all of the potions are taken out, and at the same time a redstone signal is sent down to all of the ingredients to fire them into the hopper line in turn. So when we push the button, it looks like this. Bottles go out, bottles come in, and then you have the ingredients lined up. Now this is simple, convenient, compact, but it does have some drawbacks. Of course, it requires a player to push the button every time you want to brew 3 potions. So if you're brewing a whole lot, that can get tedious. And it also is susceptible to backing up. If you accidentally brew more than your storage can hold, then you'll end up with ingredients stacked up here that you have to manually clean out. So to overcome these limitations with the simple brewer, we need to have a clock timed for the brewing that will give a 1 second or 3 hopper item transfer long signal, long enough to drain the potions out of the brewing stand every time an entire set of ingredients gets cooked. And I've done that over here by modifying the etho hopper clock. The etho hopper clock works by having pistons that push a redstone block back and forth between hoppers, and the block switches every time 1 hopper gets emptied. Now the standard clock in Bedrock Edition at least has the comparator pointing to powering dust onto a solid block on the outside of the piston. On this side, I have turned it with the comparator to the side just to make it 1 block shorter, to make this whole build a little more compact when you only have 1 or 2 ingredients. Because this repeater here on the left delays the signal, you'll need to use a sticky piston on this side. Use a normal piston on the right, but a sticky piston on the left for this clock. The way that I'm getting a 3-item long signal out of this clock whenever it cycles is by the arrangement of items inside. So I've got an unstackable item, 25 items for each ingredient in the potion recipe, and then another unstackable item, and then 2 other stackable items that don't stack with this stack. So I'm using flower pots and emeralds. What these 2 items do is allow for just the signal strength that the comparators read from these hoppers are going to be only 1 when those 2 items are in, but they're going to be more than 1 when any of these items are in, because you've got those unstackables that increase the signal strength. And that allows you to have a 2 dust long redstone line here to a target block that's going to lock the hopper. And you can see this clock attached to the brewer over here. So this dust locks the hopper, keeps the potions in the brewing stand while the clock is running its full cycle. So what happens whenever this signal strength on the coming out of the ether hopper clock is less than 2, it'll shut off, well, let me go to the other side. It'll shut off this repeater, which then alternates these redstone torches, which then shuts off this repeater, and the delay here is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 redstone ticks. And that allows enough time for the draining hopper to be running, unpowered, so active, to pull out the bottles while this stays locked, and then as soon as those are out, this will unlock for the same amount of time to allow 3 bottles to be pushed in. But otherwise, while the brewer is working, this hopper is going to stay locked, and that is important for the compactness of putting in the ingredients, which I will show in just a minute. So the way that this then also overcomes the problem of output backing up is that you've got the output hopper here feeds to the side and into a storage chest if you want, or down, you can put it to a chain of hoppers coming out, but it is also being checked by a comparator. And when you have more than one potion going through here, the signal strength will be greater than 3, which will go to this repeater on 4 ticks that then powers this same redstone dust line that is used to keep the drain hopper locked. It'll power that from the back side and prevent the hopper from draining potions out and prevent the new ingredients from cycling in whenever there's 2 or more potions in this output. So as soon as the chest backs up, so this will not interfere with the signal when there's just 1 potion coming through when it's normally draining, but whenever 2 are in here and it's backed up, then this will lock up the system and stop it from continuing to brew and continuing to stack up ingredients. Now, from all of this, the signal, if you remember in the simple brewer, the signal was just coming from the button down the line to release items into all these hoppers. Over here, we're taking the signal off of this same hopper clock timer. Whenever this repeater over here depowers, it depowers this piston and then repowers it, which makes this observer go up and down, which then is able to send a signal into the back, which that is shown over here. Here's the ingredient sequencer. So whenever this observer comes down and then back up, it's going to send a signal up through this dropper, which is watched by observer, and also powers this redstone dust line to allow for up to 5 ingredients. Now, the final portion of the auto brewer is the bottle supply. So on the other side, opposite the ingredient sequencer, I have put together an automatic bottle filler. Now, this is based on a design by MD Rahilz, but I've modified it so that you can actually stick either empty glass bottles or water bottles into the input, and they will both run through the same way. If they're empty, they'll be filled. If they're not empty, they'll just pass through. So the way this works is whenever a bottle comes down through the hoppers, this comparator activates the observer, which powers all of these droppers here. This comparator actually powers those 3 droppers. So everything's getting powered enough to move bottles through. This is a dispenser here that's marked with the little white teeth, and that gets powered to fill the bottle. If the bottle's already full, it will be ejected. So if it's ejected, it'll go in that hopper and come back through. If it's being filled, it'll be filled and then pulled in this hopper and come into there and move up through with the next bottle that comes down. Now, with this hopper setup, because you're pulling bottles through this middle hopper really fast, the comparator will turn on and off, and so it'll keep this observer pulsing each time it pulls a bottle through. Now, what prevents this from backing up is that I have a comparator reading. So these bottles come up here into this hopper and then this way toward the brewing stand. I have a comparator reading this one so that when this starts to back up, once this one has a bottle in it, it will signal this little bit of redstone to power the barrel and shut off this hopper here to prevent more from pulling down. So you're always going to have a few built up in here, enough to fill the brewing stand, but you won't back it up to where you're wasting tons and tons of bottles filling up all the droppers. Now, if you've noticed the way this is put together and you have a really three-dimensional mind, you may have realized that these hoppers coming into the brewing stand are going to overlap each other. So let me now show you how all these components get put together. And I also need a way to get the fuel in to the side. And so the fuel and the bottles both go in the side, the ingredients come in from the top. I have the fuel going in on the right, and as you saw with the bottle filler, that's going here to the back, so the fuel is tucked in there. So that's how those two fit together. But that means that the bottle input is right here below where the ingredients are coming through. And the way I prevent those from getting mixed up is keeping dummy items in the slots 2 through 5 of the bottle filter or bottle hopper. So you only have one water bottle there, but you've always got a couple backed up here. So the system keeps enough to be able to fill the brewing stand while the next set of bottles is being filled and cycled. And keeping this back hopper locked with the repeater here that's tied into the timing circuit prevents this hopper from sucking ingredients out of the ingredient pipe, because by the time the ingredients start coming through, this hopper will have locked again. And so the water bottles always go in and the ingredients always go into the right places. And so this is how everything's packed together. You can see it fits nice and tightly, a nice little build for your use. Now, there's a couple of additional possible enhancements that are like optional add-ons or extensions to the auto brewer that I've come up with. The first is, of course, to go from just 2 ingredients here to 5 ingredients there, and you just extend the redstone line, add a repeater with an additional delay, and you can do up to 5 ingredients. Now, you may have noticed on the simple brewer I showed at the beginning over there, there's actually 6 ingredients in the most complicated lingering potions. However, with the automatic timer that I have set up here, oh, this one's actually running. It's full and it's not backing up, but the timer continues running when it's full. Doesn't hurt anything. Anyway, this, because it needs 25 ingredients to do each, or I'm sorry, 25 items here for each ingredient, the timer can only hold enough items when you have these in stackables and the other 2 emeralds I have. It can only hold enough items for 5 ingredients, so we can't fit enough items to time out 6 ingredients, unfortunately. But very rarely would you brew the 6 ingredient potions, and you can always do the next enhancement, which would be to chain modules together. Now this actually may be a better way to go for the larger potions anyway, because then each segment has a shorter cycle time, which is more convenient, because if it is full and you take some out, the timer has to go through half of a cycle before it actually starts brewing the next batch. So there's a little bit of a catch-up time every time it fills up. So you may actually want to chain them together. And to do that, instead of bringing the hopper to a chest in the front, we just run the hopper right along the face and into a dropper to lift those partial potions up by 1. And then you don't need a bottle filler, but you just need this little auto dropper circuit that lifts them up into this hopper pipe that's going to go into the back of the second module, just like we had before. So we've again got this locked up hopper. We've got splash awkward potions coming from this first module over here to be combined with more ingredients to make splash night potion 6-minute long. So there's actually a lot of different combinations you can do with potions, and you can add ingredients in different sequences. And you may want to just have a batch of awkward potions to start out that you then can route to different directions. So this could be set up with multiple modules, just limited by your imagination. Another way that you may want to extend the brewer would be to add item filters on the top, as I mentioned at the beginning. And so that can be done like this. Now the layout of these filters is a little bit different than standard. So this is the Tech Rock filter with dust over glass. to repeater, but you need an extra repeater, and you need these comparator up here reading through a solid block. These repeaters are sitting right on top of the hoppers that funnel the ingredients down to the brewer. And so you've got an item filter that sits right on top like that. And I just have the minecart distributing ingredients just for testing is how I set it up, but you may want to do a water stream or something over these filters or a hopper pipe, whatever suits you. Now to fit a filter or both filters over here for bottles and for the blaze powder, to power the brewer, I had to do a special kind of item filter to fit over top of the redstone dust that locks, that makes this auto brewer work. And instead of powering the barrel, I powered the block to the side of this hopper because if you power the barrel, then the filter cannot work properly. So that is just pulling the dust over by one, still two repeaters to power this block on the side. But then in order to fit these filters above it, I have a filter with grass path, dirt path, or you can put a chain or a mangrove root here. Those work as well and that has to be something the comparator, one of those blocks the comparator can read through, but allows a redstone torch, which I don't know if we can even see that. There's a redstone torch attached to that polished andesite. So this is an item filter. You've got the 3 dust there for the bottles, and then this item filter, the comparator reads the filter hopper as usual, and this is 3 dust onto a sticky piston that pushes a composter with just a little bit of compost in it, enough for this comparator to read. So when that gets items, the composter goes down, this comparator shuts off, lets that block be unpowered and the hopper to work. So those are item filters on top. And if you are so inclined, you could make those item filters connected immediately to something like a witch farm, where it's going to automatically filter some of the witch drops into the brewer. So here I have it set up to take the health and speed potions that witches drop and automatically convert them to double power splash potions. So I've got instant health 2 and speed 2 splash potions. Bottles are filtered out at the start because they're not used here, so that's excess, and in order to allow potions alone to be filtered down through here. So this is a brewer set up to automatically enhance the potions from your witch farm, and then the unused ingredients go over to this overflow chest. In the back here, you've got the same item filters as before, and actually you can use the same kind on this one for the blaze powder because you don't have to work around the bottle filler since you don't need a bottle filler. You're filtering bottles directly down here. Bottles are already taken out. You're filtering potions, and this is a potion brewer or potion filter. It's kind of a funky arrangement, but the comparator reads items that are coming through here. This hopper takes them down. It depowers, or I'm sorry, this dropper under here is powered. When potions come in here, it takes this circuit long enough to turn off that this hopper has a chance to try to put the potion into the brewing stand. And then if it is a potion, it'll go into the brewing stand. If it's not and it won't go in, then by the time this turns off, it'll still be there and it can be sucked down directly in that chest. But if it goes into the brewing stand because it's a potion, then it goes down and through here. And the next time that this filters a non-potion item, it'll push that potion along these droppers and into down into this dropper and down into that barrel. All right, one final way to enhance this build is if you also want to have automatic detection of when the ingredients are empty. That can be done by extending some redstone off the front. Now you lose the nice flush display. You can sort of have accessibility here to a barrel in between these feedback lines. And it gets kind of busier with the redstone, but it is an additional piece of automation that may be worth it in the long run. So you don't have the headache of ever running out of ingredients and then brewing a bunch of mud or mess that you can't use and having to clean that out. So you could attach item filters on the back here. I haven't done it just because I didn't really think about doing it. Just like the item filters over there, you could put those on here, and this empty check wiring can still fit off the front. So all this is basically is a comparator going into a torch. So if this were to run out of ingredients, so let's throw all this gunpowder on the floor, so you used up an ingredient, then it would allow that torch to turn on, which is going to turn on this whole redstone line, and it's going to power, then go down to this block, power it, which shuts off the hopper clock, so it prevents the timer from, and therefore the brewing from continuing to happen. And we refill that ingredient, then it allows the brewing to resume. All right, so there is my auto brewer. I hope you have enjoyed the presentation. I hope that you can see from all of the angles that I've shown here how to build the brewer. I will provide the world download in the description if you want to take a look at that as well.